Hi guys, this is Guest75 again, and welcome to my long-awaited video where I compare a low-end Android phone up against a low-end Windows phone and see what are the differences and why should you pick one over the other if you even should to start with, because other than of course the iPhone and the BlackBerry phones, which don't really delve into the lower end of the market, Windows Phone especially has become popular in that market, and Android is of course all too well known in that market, and they were actually the first to do it. So in this video I'm going to do some comparisons and see how they stack up against each other. I mean, what you hear a lot from review channels that do Windows phones is that they're very smooth and fast for their price class, and Windows Phone doesn't need much to run fast. So how does that compare to an Android phone in the same price range? Well, let's find out. Well, first off guys, let's start up with the introduction of these two phones. On my left I have an Android phone. This is the Acer Z200. It runs on Android 4.4 KitKat. It was released at the end of last year. It also packs a 2 megapixel camera on the back, no camera on the front. It has 512 MB RAM and 4 gigabytes of storage, with of course a micro SD card that you can pull in. Other than that, it is driven by a Mediatek processor. A Cortex A7 to be precise, dual core, clocked up 1 GHz per core. And in my right hand, it shouldn't be too unfamiliar since I've already covered this phone extensively on my channel. This is the Lumia 435, the cheapest Lumia you can buy at the moment. It comes with Windows 8.1, of course, 8.1 update. It features 8 gigabytes of internal storage and 1 gigabyte of RAM. It also has a 2 megapixel camera on the back, but also a tiny VGA camera on the front. Both of these phones have 4-inch screens, comparable batteries. This one is I think 1300, this one is a little bigger, 1560, but that also doesn't have to indicate that one will last more than the other. Usually Windows phones last a little bit longer, but in my testing with both of these, they're a little comparable, with the Lumia maybe edging it out by a couple of hours, but not like by a full day or two. I'd like to stress, folks, this is not like a full-on Android versus Windows Phone comparison. It's really just on a smaller scale. How do both platforms perform? What kind of experience do they give on the cheapest phones you can buy in the market today? That's more the purpose of this video, and so let's start with some app comparisons. So let's start with a familiar one. Let's start with Facebook, something people use every day. You see the Lumia 435 etching on. Yeah, I think it came. The app itself started up first on the 435, but I think the content was loaded a bit faster on the Android phone. So let's try our next one. Let's try the Internet Movie Database. Well, and that loaded up a lot quicker on the Android phone. And you also see the differences in styling. Even though I think I pressed the icon a little faster on the Lumia. Let's try that again. So here you see in the multitasking also it's a bit more sluggish to get to it and switch from apps. So let's try that again. IMDb 3, 2, 1. Okay, I think this one, it was kind of a tie. Maybe the content loaded up a little faster on the 435, but On the whole, I'd say it's a tie. Alright, let's try another one, maybe a little less well known to you guys, but in Holland this is like the #1 news reading app, nu.nl. 3, 2, 1. And I think it was faster on the Android smartphone. I think they've both won and lost some of the app comparisons, so I think it's a tie about now. Alright, and let's try one of the more popular apps at the moment, SixTags on Windows Phone and Instagram on Android. 3, 2, 1. Slightly faster on the Android phone. Some scrolling. Yeah, smoothness leaves a lot to be desired though on the Android phone. It's very smooth on the Windows phone. It's kinda jittery on the Android phone. Interesting, right? Next up is one of the apps I use daily because I'm a pretty huge soccer fan. Let's try SofaScore.com. Okay, that was quite a bit faster on the Android phone, even though I think I might have checked it first. Let's try that again. Yeah. SofaScore 3, 2, 1. Yes, I thought similar kind of performance. Yeah. I think these apps are pretty close to each other also in terms of looks. That's also pretty interesting. With the IMPD app, you really see that that there's a lot of difference still in how they are adopted on each platform, but this one seems pretty close together. Alright, let's check it out with one of the other daily apps. Let's look up Twitter. Let's see. Yeah. 3, 2, 1. Took a little while to register my tab there. As a result, of course, you can see that the Windows phone is a lot faster for starting up Twitter. Alright, let's see. Again, just like with Instagram, the scrolling is just not that nice. Wow. It's the lag what people talk about a lot that you find in the cheaper Android phones, sometimes even in the higher end models, and usually it's just in the interface, but this Twitter app is not nice. Let's try. Wow, silky smooth. Yeah, so some apps you really can't see the differences in optimization and smoothness. Wow, this is well, you judge for yourself. Alright, let's try the Dutch public transport service app 9292. Load it up faster on the Android phone. You can see again with this app different means of using it. So here I can tap and go like this, and here I can just swipe it. Alright, now that we've done some apps, let's go on to the games. And let's try Sonic Dash. Let's see which starts up faster. Loads the game faster. 435 seems to have a big leap. Already have the splash screen there. Both of the phones taking quite their times because of course they're entry-level phones. So I can already start playing. And I'm still waiting on the Acer. It's pretty ironic that the Acer is actually a little faster in loading up most of the standard apps, but a lot slower on this first game. Alright, let's return to the home screen, and you also see that that takes a lot longer to process on the Android phone. Alright, let's try one of the other standard, your everyday games. Let's see. Try to locate. Let's try a Temple Run. Let's see. Yeah. 3, 2, 1. You also see the 435 pulling ahead again. Let's see which one is done loading a little faster. Because even on higher end devices, Temple Run is a pretty nice game to see how fast a phone is, because it just takes time to load. You can hear the sound coming from, yeah, and there is Temple Run on the 435. And yep, it's ready to play. See a little stutter there on the Acer also. This keeps getting more interesting and more interesting. Well, let's hop on to the next game. Let's try Subway Surfer. Get a little bit here and over here. Alright. 3, 2, 1. Looks like this is going to be a tie. Let's see a loading screen. Oh, mistaken, the 435 pulling ahead by quite some distance. Already hear the theme song. Okay, that even for a cheap phone, that was quite fast. So both updated the game, so it should be equal. And we're still waiting on the Acer. And you see just these performance issues with the stuttering and the ads. It's not very nice. Let's try and play this game. Again, a lot of stuttering. It's just not a very nice experience. Although now I think just in general gameplay is doing alright. Gosh, this game is so addicting. Its responsiveness is pretty good. But again, you saw those little stutters coming in. Whoa, major stutter. You really see the frame rate dropping right now. And if you have a frame rate drops like this, of course, you know, it's not very nice when playing a game like this where you need to have a fast finger in order to go overcome the obstacles. So let's try and continue with the game on the Lumia for a little while. If it'll resume. Yeah, there we are. Oh. Alright. No stutter whatsoever as of yet. Okay. I kinda suck at this game. Let's do it over there. Let's try it again. Yeah, pretty smooth. nice to play on this phone. So you see the experience is a lot smoother and a lot more high-end, if you could call it that. No stutter or lag or whatsoever. Now you really starting to see some of the differences between a cheap Android phone and a cheap Windows phone. Pretty interesting. Alright. Let's move on to the next game. Let's try probably the simplest game on the list. Angry Birds Rio. 3, 2, 1. And you see the Acer again is taking a while to register my tab. Of course, Angry Birds is landscape. Done loading on a 435. Still loading on the Acer. Alright. Let's try some gameplay. Let's lower the volume a bit. It's quite a noisy game, I must say. Yeah, it went pretty smooth. Getting a little out of focus here. With this phone. Alright. They both seem to run the game pretty smooth. Alright. Now let's go on to a little more high-end gaming. So let's try the heaviest game I have on here. And you see again, it's taking its time. It really needs to recover from running a game on the Android phone. Also, as I scroll around, it's just not registering my tabs. Okay, now it thinks I pressed the widget, which I did not intend to do. Alright, and we're back. Alright, let's move on to the heaviest game I have on this list, which both these phones can take, and that's Asphalt 8. So see again, Acer taking a while to register my tab. Keep forgetting that some games are landscape and some games aren't. I think we're pretty close on this one. Although the Acer is still loading, as you can see, and this guy's already done. I'll just wait for this one to load and see how fast they load the stages. New update. I can't skip it. Can I skip it? No, I guess I cannot. And I think it terminated itself. Okay, this is rather annoying. With some of these games these days, you can't really play the game unless you update it. So I'll be right back with you guys and see how fast it takes for the suit to load the stages. So unfortunately, well, this is also something I wanted to talk about anyway, but I've come up to the limitations of the storage of the Android device. I want to update Asphalt Urban, but it says the app is too large. I need to delete all my other apps. And that brings in us to the second thing that I wanted to discuss, storage management on both platforms. I already told earlier in the specs, in a cheaper Lumia you just get that nice 8 gigabytes of storage. That was already true for the 520 and also now in the latest and greatest cheap Lumia, the 435. On the Acer, it's pretty typical storage capacity for Androids. Like you have to think of the cheap Samsung Galaxies, LG phones, and all of those. They come with 4 gigabytes of storage. And you see that if you have some games that you want to play on it, especially the bigger games, you'll be able to play them, because I was able to play Asphalt on here, of course. I downloaded it, but now there's just not enough storage for me to upgrade it. So let's check out both storage systems and see what the situation is at the moment. So on the Android phone I have to go to storage, and on Lumia there's something called Storage Sense, which is very convenient, and I can see what is taking up space on my phone and on my SD card. So right now we're checking out the SD card. Let's see. So SD card, total storage, it's a 16 gigabyte SD card. I've got quite a lot of apps on here actually. But the problem is, especially with an app like Asphalt, it goes to the internal storage first, and then it can be placed on the external storage. And actually lucky with Asphalt, because most of the apps you cannot completely install those on the SD card. Whereas with this, with the Lumia, I can completely put the whole entire app or game on the storage, on the external storage, and there's nothing, not even a little piece of data on the internal storage of the phone. So that is like a major plus point for the 435, for the Windows Phone, the cheap Windows Phone in this regard, because it also accepts cards up to 128 gigabytes. So effectively I can make it as expensive as very expensive Galaxy S or iPhone 6. So that is one of the major differences you have here. Another thing I wanted to have a look at, actually I'm doing them now in reverse order because of that issue on this Acer, is multitasking. So you've noticed I didn't really close any of the games or apps. Let's see how they are with that. So with Android, it differs per skin how how multitasking works. Excuse me. And this particular Android phone, the Acer Z200, is actually running Android 4.4.2. And I have a multitask button here. So let's see if we can get back to Subway servers. So you see it's restarting Subway servers. Let's try it on a Windows phone. I think it's... oh, there it is. Both of them reloading the game. So let's try it up with and see what they have open. Let's see if they got Angry Birds open. Either one of them. So it's still open on the Lumia, and it's restarting on the Acer. Of course, that is also difference in RAM, but it's pretty nice that the 435 in such a cheap device has 1 gigabyte of RAM. So that's also a difference you're going to notice when choosing an Android phone in this price range. let's see. So I don't think it has any other of the apps open. Oh yeah. 9292. So I can't fully compare them in terms of what they still have open, because I think the Lumia just remembers a lot more apps, and here I can't even scroll, I can't even see what's still open. So let's see, just for fun, Temporal is running. Nope. What else do we have open? Sonic Dash. I think that's open. Nope. So the 435 is slightly better with RAM management, but not by too much. So in short, what can we conclude from this comparison? Well, actually, what we've heard a lot, because you hear it a lot in reviews. Yeah, Windows Phone this, Windows Phone that, Android this, Android that. Usually they say like the Windows Phone is more recommended because it's faster with lesser hardware than their counterparts on Android, and it actually holds true. I mean, in most of the tests, most of the apps actually started up the same, but the performance, smoothness of the apps was a lot better on the Windows Phone, and also games. I mean, that wasn't even really a competition. And then the second most important thing, what I see with a lot of people, because I've been a phone salesman for quite a while, I've done that for quite a while, and what we usually get is people with their older phones, so Galaxies, LGs, Acers, Alcatel is one of those brands. The internal memory is just always comes up short, and it always ruins the experience, because you just can't use some apps that can't update. So WhatsApp is a big example, but also an app like Asphalt Urban GT or Subway Surfer, which has update maybe a few times a week. You just can't use those apps anymore unless you delete other apps, and that is of course not what this phone is, what phone should be about. Because it's pretty ironic, because I'm not somebody who uses Snapchat or something, but of course the Android phone has a lot more apps in the store. The second thing is, if you're going to use all of those apps, what it comes down to, the Windows Phone is simply capable of holding more apps than its Android counterparts. So that's pretty interesting. So yeah, that's a pretty interesting thing. I mean, of course, you've got a lot more apps in here in the Play Store versus the Windows Store, but it's just the general performance. I mean, returning to the home screen again, and just the stutters and the lags that appear sometimes. It's not all the time on the Android phones, but they're a lot more apparent in the operating system than they are on the Windows Phone, especially with multitasking and stuff like that. It's just a lot faster with the same tasks. So that's something you should keep in mind. And if you're really somebody who can't live without, like, Snapchat, for example, or anything like that, then by all means you'll get a lesser experience, but you'll get that app that you want. If you're somebody like most people who just uses the basic apps like WhatsApp, maybe some YouTube, Facebook, you'll be able to use these apps on this platform, on this kind of phone, on this cheap phone. But with the experience of a higher end phone, because it's just really smooth and really easy to use, and that I think is very important for a smartphone. Just like what people say that by an iPhone it just works. iPhone is of course always a high-end phone, so this too can be expected from that class. But previous smartphones, like with the recessive touchscreens, the jitteriness, the lag, that just undermine like what you're using the phone for. It's supposed to be an easy tool to give us what we want out of a phone, and it should be as fast and fluid as possible. And I just have to say that that the Windows Phone platform offers that in their cheapest devices, even with very low end specs. And I've yet to see an Android phone in this same price range that is just as smooth and fast. as this phone, because with a lot of the more expensive brands, primarily Samsung, you get even lesser specs. I'm talking about single core processors, also 512 MB RAM, 4 gigabytes of storage. That is even slower than this, because this Acer was for last year. It's a pretty fast device with dual core. Pretty affordable also, because of course these two phones have VGA screens and pretty poor cameras. That's not what you buy this phone for. You just buy it to use, to communicate, to check up your Facebook updates and stuff like that. And in that sense, I think you have a better product with the Windows Phone at the moment. So that was it, guys. That has been my video for now, and I hope to catch you guys soon in my next video.